Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Today, our guest is Garrett. Garrett, how are you doing today?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So nice of you. So, Garrett, let us know where you live and what you do.
Yeah, so I live in Austin, Texas. You know, a lot of founders struggle to get funded because their pitch isn't very good. My company, Lucid, helps you pitch with clarity so you can close your round.
Awesome. So, Garrett, let us know what are your core roles in your company?
Core rules. Okay, yeah, I'm the founder. I basically just do pitches all day. So I have a relatively extensive process where I work with founders to help them go through a series of exercises. I like to explain this with a metaphor. So if you've ever heard how samurai swords are made, in Japan, feudal Japan, the steel is very bad. So they learn that if you flatten the steel out and then fold it on itself, and then flatten it out and then fold it on itself 1,000 times, it makes a really strong sword out of really, not the best material in the world. And so when we go through this process, we do a variety of different modalities to try and get to the core of what's essential about the narrative and then condense that down into really punchy, emotional, compelling stories.
Awesome. So, I believe in this case, you must be doing some sort of marketing as well, because marketing are a core thing for any business. For any business, is an essential for sure. So, how you are doing the marketing of this thing?
Yeah. So historically, my primary marketing channel was just in-person networking. So I go to a lot of events, and after a certain point, my ex-co-founder started doing a lot of LinkedIn outreach, which I've recently picked up. On top of that, I'm currently in the process of creating a bunch of new LinkedIn content. Obviously, my primary sales channel outside of in-person networking is LinkedIn. And, podcast appearances are a great channel for that as well, because you can take a show, cut it up into micro content, you get, a couple weeks worth of content out of a good long podcast. But that's pretty much it. It's very relatively simple. I'm probably going to start running some ads here soon. Testing the waters with that, but that's never been something I've really spent a huge amount of time on.
All right, makes sense. Like you are using both of the channels, like online and offline both. So honestly, yeah, that's helpful. So in terms of the differentiator, what are your biggest differentiators from the others in the market?
Yeah, I would say I've done a pretty decent amount of research on other people that are involved in the deck process. And it seems to be almost every single company that I've seen does it has large teams where it's a lot of designers from the Philippines. And it's just me. I just do everything myself. I used to run a design agency. I was director of ops at a different design agency. I've been a designer for a very, very long time. And I've been in startups for basically a decade in some capacity. So where with other people, I think you are getting a productionalized kind of service. I do a very bespoke, very premium thing where we work for, 20 hours or so to get it perfect. And I'll also stay on, with clients who want it as an advisor, and we'll do ongoing refinements of the pitch based on feedback from investors. We can do practices, strategies, stuff like that. But really, I don't know. I love being a service provider. I'm very much like I enjoy and get a lot of validation out of being helpful. So I think it's unlikely you would get as much attention from one of these kind of factory style agencies as you would get from me, or at least that's what I strive to provide to people I work with.
Well, that completely makes sense. So in these areas, when you are providing services, especially when you are related to the design as well, so don't you think sometimes it becomes a problem to make the people understand that how important is this design side? So have you ever faced this issue or not?
Honestly, I would say design is, at least in the process I do, maybe 10% of the value. It's important to have a good looking deck, but there are many people that are great designers that do not know how to make a presentation convincing. So simply making it look good is better than having an ugly one, but not necessarily a value add in and of itself. And I think this is a really common issue. And this is when people build larger agencies, they hire good designers that aren't necessarily good deck designers. Really, really, really what I do, and the part that matters the most is understanding what I call the golden thread. So and this is different from most other forms of sales, pitching to investors for startups is a very, very niche specific kind of thing. In sales, if you've ever seen any infomercial ever in the world, they'll say, oh, well, we're selling this, but wait, there's more. You get this and this and this and this, right? And so people tend to think, if I just throw in more stuff, it's like adding ropes and winding them together and it makes a big, strong rope. But in reality, that's not what's useful for a pitch. What's useful for a pitch is I'm pitching you exactly one simple idea, right? So, hey, there's one change in the world that leads to one opportunity, that leads to one product that solves that need, which targets this one specific segment of the market with one go-to-market strategy and so on and so forth, so that you have one easy thing to say yes to. And you can do stuff after you've established that you've checked all these boxes where you say, and then we're going to do this. But people get caught up often either trying to throw spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks or focusing a lot on the potential of the thing instead of saying, this is how we're going to go. This is how we're going to win, if that makes sense. So
completely makes sense. So have you ever seen or analyzed the bounce back? Like what is the main section or the main part from where there is more bounce back of the users? Like from where they say, okay, all right, they just lose the interest, or maybe this can be the pricing section as well. Like sometimes when people see the pricing section at that time, they may turn off. But what are the main points where this?
So it's interesting. It's a little bit like a landing page. So I used to do landing pages for a while. And if you think about landing pages, well, the way I used to explain it is you're playing a game where you have to keep winning, right? So if somebody lands on your website and does not immediately get interest in the first, 4 or 5 seconds, they're going to leave, right? If you get them through that, then you have to keep their interest, right? So the next section has to keep them. You have to win again. You have to win again and on until you get to the call to action. And so pitching is very similar. I think the key thing is that investors are so used to being pitched and they've looked at so many decks. They do this all day. They could look at dozens a day, hundreds a month, hundreds a week even. So you have to be able to come in and hook them immediately and then keep their interest without moving them from like the emotional part of the brain into the logical part of the brain, because the logical part of the brain is not the one that makes purchasing decisions. We buy things emotionally and justify them after the fact with logic. So it's not necessarily that there's an individual part that you get stuck. It's that if you miss any part along the process, you lose. And that's where it's tricky, because you can have somebody and then you see the light goes out of their eyes, they get bored, they're not interested. And then people will tell you, the other thing is that all the feedback you get is basically wrong, right? There are only 2 good responses, which is called, I want to give you money, or anything else, right? Anything else is a no. There's 100 ways that they say no without saying no, right? But people think, oh, well, they said it was interesting, or they said they want to come back and see what happens if we get another investor, or we'll come back in another round or something. These are all polite ways to say no. Because if, from the psychology of an investor, if I walked up to you and you had, let's say I'm trying to get you to give me $1 million, right? And I have a box, and inside this box is a magic object that if you give me $1 million, this box is going to give you $100 million, right? In 5 years. If you felt very confident that this box was going to do that, and it is in this hypothetical scenario, this is a true thing, you would totally do it. It's a great deal. You do it right now, right? Or at least as fast as possible. If you were certain that the magic box was going to multiply your money by 100x, you would totally do it. And so getting people to realize, hey, when you lose their attention, they no longer believe your magic box, your startup idea, is going to give them that return. Everything else is no. Everything other than enthusiastically like, oh my God, I need this right now. This is the greatest idea ever. I want in, I see the vision. This is amazing, is no. So it's a weird game to play, because the stakes are very high and you have to be able to keep people engaged constantly.
Yeah, basically in this case, your end users are not users, basically whoever is going to see this presentation is not a simple person or a naive person. They are sophisticated, they know their lines, and they know what they are looking for, obviously. So can we summarize it in maybe 2-3 points where we can say, if someone is going to establish a business and they want to present their pitch deck, so what are the main key points that they have to keep in their mind?
The first thing that everyone has to know is, before you even decide to get into start. Yep.
Sorry to interrupt you, but like I want to know the non-negotiable things, like must-have things.
100%. You have to understand what the venture model is. A lot of people have ideas that they think would make a cool company that do not fit the venture model. There are like 47 or 48 types of investment vehicles that are not VCs, right? Your company has to have a rapid growth trajectory in a growing market and the ability to attack that. If you can't do that, it's not for you. Do something else. Do a small business, start a franchise, talk to any other form of investor, right? So that's the first thing. I think a lot of people just don't understand what the objective is for VCs and how they look at the math. The second part of that is having one clear story all the way through and being able to tell the story as short as humanly possible without missing important stuff. And third is do this without getting bogged down in the technical details. So this is a huge amount of, not everyone, I've worked with some people that don't have very complicated products, but a large swath of my customers are very technical founders. They're engineers or developers or scientists or researchers or some other very technical skill set. And when you are in those fields, for example, let's say we're building a rocket. If you and I are talking about a certain gasket, we need it to be engineered to like 0.0001 precision, or else the rocket is going to blow up and everyone will die. So we speak, engineers and other technical people speak in the language of precision, but pitching and sales in general is not about precision. It's about emotions. People do not buy numbers. They buy stories. So focus on the big picture. What does this do? And even less so like how the product works and more, how does the product reach a large audience with a real problem that they want to pay to have solved?
Really makes sense. And I think we are busting a myth as well today that do not mention all the technicalities in your deck. Well, that's great. All right. So let us know again, let's come back to the business side, to your business side. What is your process of onboarding a client?
Yeah, it's relatively straightforward. So obviously we'll have a couple calls where we're doing sales. Sometimes it's fast. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to see if it's a good fit. I'm not a salesperson, right? I'm a pitch guy. So if people aren't a good fit, I don't want to work with you. If you talk to me and we have a great time, we're going to have a great time working together. If not, it's cool. There's no upside to that because it's a long process. We're going to spend a lot of time together. So I just want to weed out people that it's not for very early. But let's say we go through that, very straightforward. We schedule calls in 2-hour chunks. I find if you work for less than 2 hours, you don't get enough done. If you work for more than 2 hours, everyone's brain starts to turn off. It's very hard to do very focused narrative work for more than 2 hours at a time. So first meeting, we just talk and I'm fishing. I'll ask questions. I'm looking for that golden thread. I want to see what's our angle, what's our position, right? Second meeting, we go through and answer what I call the Magnificent Seven, which are the 7 key components of the narrative. Third, we'll go through and do the traditional Sequoia style deck, but we do it, so this is a 10-slide deck. This is very common. Most people have seen this. Most people do this. I don't like it. I don't like that format, but I have a special criteria here, which is you're only allowed 1 sentence per slide, which forces you to be very precise about what's essential. And at the end of that, you have 10 sentences, 2 paragraphs. That's basically your elevator pitch. Finally, we start on what I call the narrative style deck, which is a format that I've developed over the years. And this improves on things in the traditional style pitch deck because it's better at telling a story. The traditional style pitch deck, a Sequoia style, is what VCs want to see in the order they want to see it, but they don't necessarily know what is convincing to them. They know what makes their job easier when they have to look at 300 decks a week, right? So we'll go through that. Last part takes the longest. It varies, but I generally, the whole process start to finish typically goes around 20 hours. Maybe this is 3-4 weeks. And at that point, when we've decided, here's all the copy, this is all the slides, this is the order they're going to be in, then I'll do the design, which is the easy part. And then you have a deck, then you go pitch. And then if there's more stuff to do, then you come back and we make tweaks or I once had a mentor who said that every time you get a question you don't know the answer to, you add a slide to the appendix that answers it. And at the end of that, when you've refined this and you folded the blade, so to speak, then it's kind of like Neo in the Matrix where, Agent Smith's trying to punch him and you're just blocking every punch. They ask you a question, you have a slide for that, you have an answer for that. And then you get to this place where you're very, very confident in what you're pitching. You know that no matter what anyone asks you, you're prepared. And that feeling of being perfectly in flow through the pitch is the feeling that communicates confidence to the investors and makes it really easy for people to say, yes, they want to invest in your company.
Makes sense. So in terms of some like the new entrepreneurs, they this is a great possibility that someone do have some idea, but they cannot express it in a good manner. So
Mhm.
in these cases, I believe 2 hours. I'm not sure if 2 hours thing can work for this or not. But like these are the cases. These are a lot of cases where people do have a golden thread, but still they are not able to convey it. So in this regard, do you adapt anything else? Do you adopt any other methodology?
Yeah, so one of the things I'm working on putting together now, because I am a premium service provider. It's not cheap and it's not for everyone. But I've found a lot of people, especially, working with startups is actually really hard. Pretty much, I have the worst business model in the world because I'm trying to help people get money, meaning they don't have any money right now. But I love it and I'm good at it and it's very rewarding to do. But I realized if I had a community where people could come that was very low price relative to the full service offer, then there's a way that people could come and kind of learn passively and work on things on their own, ask questions, meet other people in the industry. So for example, there's a company that I do a lot of work with called Capital Raise that's based here in Austin as well. And they connect founders to investors. That's all they do. I don't do that. But all of my clients need that, vice versa. All of their clients need help with their deck. So it's very neat. So I'm working on building this community right now where founders can come in, learn from not just me, but other people that know a lot about this process and other things like go to market or how to structure your cap table. What does a good deal look like? What are the different investment vehicles, things like that. So that should be coming out in hopefully the next few months, because I do realize that I want to be able to help more people than I'm able to do solo, which it's very hard to scale me. I wish I had a couple more of myself lying around.
Awesome. So I think when we are talking about your next things to do, so can you tell us what are your short-term goals like in next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, for sure. So really straightforward. I'm just building out a series of offers. So the next thing that's coming up is going to be that pitch community. In between those two, once I get the community kind of stabilized, what I'm going to develop is a one-to-many offer. So more like a kind of cohort style course where people can come in. We do the exact same process as the full service thing, but I'll do it with a group and you do it yourself and I'll give you feedback. So that should also be substantially cheaper than the full service offer. And then somewhere in here, I'm also going to have a podcast where basically I'll interview probably Series A and up founders who have survived the pitching experience and learned tricks through it. Salespeople, psychologists who can talk about persuasion, maybe neurologists who can talk about the brain chemistry and how that reacts to how we receive information and things like that. Because maybe some mythologists, storytelling people, like everything in the world related to pitching. I'm obsessed with it. It's my favorite thing in the world. I talk about it when I'm not working and I work all the time. Like I just love everything about pitching. It's just such a cool thing to do. So really, I'm just going to expand that so that there's something for everyone in there. Even if you can't afford the cheap community, that at least you can watch the podcast and start trying to puzzle this stuff out yourself.
Well, that's great. What do you think? Like, how do you measure your success, the success of your business, obviously, other than revenue, maybe, because obviously this is one of the easiest way to measure your success as per the numbers. But yeah, other than revenue, what do you think?
My most important thing to me is that everyone is happy at the end, right? There's a very, very strong correlation between my clients having a great experience and their ability to pitch confidently. So I know if we have a great time, they feel good about what I've given them. Then if I'm helping them make a sword, they have to go slay the dragon with it, right? So when at the end of things, people feel happy, they can go out and pitch, they can go raise their round, they can start building these awesome, awesome companies that I'm very fortunate to work with. That's really my metric for success. How many people can go out and raise and build this thing that the world desperately needs?
That's cool. That's cool indeed. So, and then Garrett, what would be your biggest piece of advice to the ones who are going to start their new business, or maybe they are still dreaming to be their own boss?
If you're going to be a startup founder, the best piece of advice is you shouldn't do it. And if you still want to do it after I tell you that, then you might be all right. But now, more seriously, the rule is called stay in the game. I've been doing this for a very long time. There have been a lot of other people that I've known at various points in my life that were at similar stages that don't do this anymore. That, not pitches, obviously, I'm the pitch guy, but different service businesses, different startups. I've watched many, many, many people come and go, and you must find something that you care about and that you enjoy enough to be able to suffer through a very, very long period of time where nothing works and you don't know what you should be doing. And if you can stick through it, you will figure it out eventually. And if that sounds even slightly unappealing to you, don't do it. Get a normal job. It is not cool or fun until it's over and then you won, right? So just, if I can scare you away, be scared away. If not, you will probably be all right.
Awesome. That's a bit bitter as well. But yeah, that's reality. That's reality for sure. Well, awesome, Garrett. Please let our viewers know how they can reach you. You can share your website or social media handles, whatever you want to.
Yeah, super easy. Pitchlucid.com. You can email me at garrett@lucidconsult.ing. I will be switching my email over to pitchlucid.com. It's a new domain, but for the time being, that's it. And it'll redirect anyway. So by the time this is out, maybe it's changed. But outside of that, find me on LinkedIn. I post the majority of my content there, just stuff related to pitching, helping you clarify your message and raise a bunch of money.
Awesome. And can you please let them know how they can join your group where you are sharing the awareness?
So the group's not ready yet, but if you follow me on LinkedIn, I will be posting about it there. And if you're interested, you go to the website. Every single one of the buttons on the homepage goes to my calendar. Feel free to schedule a call. I do offer free pitch deck reviews. So if you want to talk to me for a half an hour, I will give you feedback and you can go work on it. And if you want to talk about the community, I will happily put you on the wait list, which I don't have a page for yet, but that's coming soon.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Garrett, I really enjoyed the conversation and especially your advice that was very honest. So, well, thank you, Garrett. Thanks for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too.